Life, produced by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues throughout our area. Now, today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. And today our topic is Academia Aztlan, and we are privileged to have one of the staff people of that and one of the persons who is directing the theater of that, Rodney Garza.
Thank you for having me, Richard.
Rodney, I have to say that after almost 8 years of doing Austin Faith Dialogue, I have never interviewed anyone in a costume just exactly like that.
Well, I'm glad there's a first for everything, isn't there?
And tell us, first of all, a little bit what this represents.
Well, what we're going to be showing in a little bit is the opening monologue that Lucifer has for a Pastorela that we just finished doing back in December. A Pastorela is a traditional shepherd's play where the shepherds encountered Lucifer and the other devils on the way to find the Christ child. So we'll be seeing a taste of that here in a little bit.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that in a moment and look forward to your presentation already. But tell us, first of all, this all takes place in the setting of what's called Academia Aztlan. Tell us what that's about.
Well, Academia Aztlan is an organization that is a nonprofit group that sponsors other groups. Academia Aztlan has been around for at least 12 years as a nonprofit organization. They've been around for longer than that, you know, before that. The whole idea of Academia Aztlan is, in a sense, to teach, for us as Mexican Americans, to teach our further generations about our history, where we come from as far as our indigenous roots. Aztlan is the mythical homeland of the Aztecs, and so through the course of dance, theater, visual arts, and you know the whole culture, we want to educate our descendants, and as well as our friends and the people around us.
Okay, well, just to see if I can summarize what you said, this is a program of the arts in the Hispanic community for persons interested in drama, theater, dance, or the graphic arts. And where is it located?
Well, right now we're housed in a new place off 7th Street called the Santa Cruz Center for Culture. It's a new space that just opened this past December, and so they're being kind enough to give us some office space and some performance space. And that's at 1805 East 7th Street.
Okay. And it's been in Austin, you say, how many years?
12 incorporated.
Okay. Have you been at that location not that long?
Well, that location kind of holds some history for the people who started Academia Aztlan. They've been in that place, you know, practicing, using it sort of office space for a long time, but just recently they opened it up as an actual performance space. So, yeah, it's been there for a while, but not officially, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think that your reference to Aztlan as the, you said the mythical homeland of the Aztecs, and where people from Mexico can find an emotional, spiritual identification with that.
Exactly, just as the African-American people, you know, sometimes talk about the search for the homeland in Africa, as well as other peoples, you know, searching for their native roots. Us as a group search for what our truths were, you know, from the people who we never got to see. I mean, that was a long time ago. And it was revered to have, you know, been started, the migration started somewhere like in the northwest part of what is now the United States, and slowly the people migrated until they found what the prophecy said was the legendary cactus, eagle with a serpent in the mouth on a cactus.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they were searching for from the beginning of where the Aztlan...
Near Mexico City.
Right.
And then here in the States, many centuries later, that story is still being told and enacted.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kept through the years. I guess there was a resurgence of it in the 60s with the Chicano movement. And Chicano basically is a short word that means of the Mexica descendants. And Mexica was the other word for the Aztec people.
Oh, I see.
Right. So since then, people kind of wanted to know more of histories that they didn't know about, and so they started searching into it.
So, and by being able to recreate this and celebrate this in the arts, you're able to pass it on to future generations in a more imaginative way than just by a prosaic history sort of thing.
Right. I mean, there's so much more things you can learn that are not just in books. For me, the whole idea of art, it's very important. It's the easiest way to pass on so many different styles of being and so many different ways of communicating, so many different ideas.
Right.
So I guess, in a sense, I feel kind of lucky that we're, as old as this organization really is, I feel like right now we're blossoming into bigger and brighter things for us. We, myself as a theater director, I just kind of came together with what they, generally it was just a folk dance company that they were housing for a long time. And so now we're coordinating and doing projects together to, you know, broaden our horizons.
Okay, so there was a folk dance element to this that you have kind of added on to with your dramatic program?
Right. They still have a folk dance company. And now them sponsoring my theater group, which is Teatro Humanidad Cansada, we're kind of pooling resources and at the same time working together in, you know, collaborative projects.
Could you translate that, what you just said, the theater?
Teatro Humanidad Cansada, Theater of the Tired Humanity. I know it sounds somewhat odd. I guess in a sense, we're, as a theater, this type of theater group, we're descendants of the Chicano theater movement, which was a unique social movement of the 60s and 70s where farm workers and people in the factories started getting people together, organized through the use of theater, and started educating people through the use of theater. And for me, after reading it in the books and things like that, I kind of felt like that was getting lost. And so I've been doing theater for most of my life, and it finally was this thing about, well, I can finally do something with theater. I can actually tell people something, you know, show people something about what I think either needs change or needs looking into, social, political problems.
So the theater is not just a recreation of the roots of from the Aztec past, but focusing on what needs to be happening today.
Issues that, you know, yeah, that need to be talked about.
Well, I'd like to just have placed on the monitor, if we could please, the number of where the Academia Aztlan is can be contacted, and I think that we're about to have you give us a little bit of a demonstration of your theater from the Pastorela. This is a scene by Lucifer.
Right, this is the opening scene that kind of sets the whole pace of the show.
Okay. And after we see this, and after we have a break, we'll come back and we'll reflect upon what that means and how that fits into the larger picture.
All right. Well.
As Rodney positions himself at this point, I would like to have you just take note of the fact that the Pastorela is during the Christmas season, and during the Epiphany season that ended as of January the 6th, as of yesterday. But before it gets too far past us, let's just take note of this Hispanic heritage that we can all appreciate in the person at this stage of Lucifer.
Luzbel soy. Luzbel soy. Sí, luz I and me. Yes, the prince of all devils am I, and with all my very own resplendent light, all hell burns. These infernal infidels that accompany me know well the reason for my journey to this lowly earth from my majestic mount. Vengo a ver de qué se trata esta mentira. Pues dicen que ha nacido mi enemigo. Con dulces acentos, los celestes muy contentos cantan. To whom? To that so-called heavenly sent creator? Oh, they may sing his praises now, but I shall find a way to turn their singing into weeping. Here, in this testament full of lore, this ancient premonition of some lost sentimental soul is written. Here, the prophet boldly and foolishly proclaims that a Messiah will come to save the world. From whom? From me? And the prophet declares that he shall be born of a virgin. Ay de mí, nada de esto entiendo. No puede ser verdad. ¿Por qué dice aquí? This Messiah will be born both man and God. Ay, qué rabia me entra al oír tantas mentiras. Oh, brothers, diablitos todos, may our fury grow and burn up all this petty joy. So when we kill this God, this niño born today, all people shall be defeated, shall become mine. War, guerra, make war against all. Y reclamamos el cielo y la tierra. You, pecado, mi capitán. You and your compañero astucia. Lead my army toward this Bethlehem and see if he is born. And if he is, straightway hasten to tell me. See, go, hurry, pronto. For we must do away with the danger that he poses to our kingdom.
Serving Austin means serving you. That has always been the primary goal of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. We are religion in action through the work of these organizations. Each plays a key role in making the capital city a better place to live, but we can't do it alone. Do you have some spare time, talents, or any resources that you can share? If you do, please call AMM at 472-7627, because serving Austin means serving you.
Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue. I want to let you folks know that today our topic is on Academia Aztlan, a Hispanic arts program that we are having featured today in person by Rodney Garza, who has also just portrayed himself as Lucifer. And I must say, Rodney, after watching you do that, I thought, what does this have to do with Christmas, for heaven's sake?
Well, what does this have to do with Christmas? Well, the whole Pastorela is a shepherd's play, right? Where the shepherds go in search of the Christ child that they heard through voices and birds. In our version, birds who sang to the shepherds and are kind of leading them on their way.
Oh, I see.
And so through that, they go through little trials and tribulations, and they meet up with Lucifer and all his devilish cohorts. And so basically, in the end, that the shepherds actually end up reaching the side of the Lord, And so I guess what it has to do with Christmas is that Lucifer, Luzbel, is the traditional common Spanish name for the Pastorelas, Lucifers. Well, he's just heard the news, and he's realizing that this prophecy is going to come true to him.
I see. Yeah.
And he talks about how the skies, there's a singing in the skies is just kind of driving him insane, and he doesn't like all that joy, and so basically he's kind of starting to plot to get rid of this child that may eventually take his place as the king of the, you know, he considers himself the king of all the world, and so here he's I guess, in fear that that kingdom is crumbling or coming to a crumble.
So, what it seems to me then is that to take the traditional Christmas story and interpose Lucifer as a barrier, if nothing else, of the shepherds on the way to the Christ child,
Right.
means that to find your way to the Christ child isn't easy.
Right. And there's you know, lots of things that we have to learn from, and I mean, this is a basic tale of good and evil in a sense, right? So in our version of it, we represent, or we talk and we kind of punch and kind of do various subjects in today's society, in today's world, you know, capitalism, heavy governments that like their wars. Anyway, there's lots of little things that we kind of take little jabs at.
You get a little political commentary in there, huh?
In a sense, I mean, there's good and bad, and sometimes we have to learn what's good and what's bad through what's in front of us.
What's happening now.
Right.
Well, that's very creative stuff. I mean, for those of us who are not, you know, used to the Pastorela as a vehicle for celebrating the holidays, it adds a new dimension to it.
Right. I wanted to add this. What we did was we took a traditional script that was translated from a script that was used back in the 30s here in Austin as part of these pastorelas. So there's a lot of language that in that script was somewhat archaic. But then we kind of wrote up some new scenes that were both bilingual. I mean, they were both in Spanish and English, and we contemporized it as much as we can, but still keeping some of that archaic style of language. So I guess it's a unique script, a unique way of looking at it.
This was done in the 30s, you say?
A part of this certain script was.
And in the Hispanic community here in Austin?
Yeah, right.
Huh.
And so a script was found a few years ago, and it was all in Spanish and was translated into some part in Spanish, part in English.
I noticed you did the combination there.
Right. And so more recently, this past year, we added whole new scenes that that weren't in that original version, and we added the three wise men scene, and they go through a pretty rough deal when they come on their travels. They meet up with Herod, which at that point has been Lucifer, kind of in a different costume in a sense.
Oh, I see.
So
you double play that part too?
Right. He throws on another kind of different robe and takes off his little other things, and all of a sudden he's King Herod, but underneath he's really the Lucifer character.
Yeah. Well, coming at the end of the season of Epiphany, which is about the wise men making their journeys,
Right.
we know from Scripture that there was a Lucifer-type force in their way going to the Christ child. So
Right.
this kind of carries that theme further.
Exactly. We thought we'd tie in the old crazy Herod in a sense, or he wanting to do all his bad things after hearing of this child as well. And so we thought we'd combine two same ideas into one character, I guess.
Well, if folks didn't have a chance in 1995 to come to your performance, will it be offered again at the end of 1996?
More than likely, and we're thinking of, again, either not updating it, but maybe adding new ideas to it. Maybe making it a rock musical or something to that effect.
Oh, yeah. It's a works in progress, really.
Well, yeah, it's something to have fun with. I guess it's going to be our traditional Christmas carol type of event. We do have an event coming up, though, my theater company, opening in February. It's a play called La Víctima, which is a bilingual script that traces the history of Mexican-American people and I guess how the roots have been displaced through a series of major deportations that happened here in the United States, how people were kind of, I guess, taken apart as a race.
How do you translate that now?
La víctima, it's called the victim.
The victim.
Right, follows this family through 4 generations, part of which this child that was kind of torn apart from his family at a train station in one of those deportations later goes on to become a Border Patrol agent and really dealing with his own family later on.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's kind of a timely subject right now with a lot of, I guess, immigration bashing and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what's the date for that?
February 1st through the 17th.
Okay.
3 weekends.
I want to go back to pick up the number again in case people missed it during the first half as to how they can reach Academia Aztlan and mention again the address.
1805 East 7th Street. The name of the place is called Santa Cruz Center for Culture. We're right across the street from Houston-Tillotson College, and an important thing is that our parking spaces are next door in the Planned Parenthood area. We share parking.
I see.
So it's kind of something that I like to tell people because they sometimes have trouble finding it. Our phone number there is 478-9717, so if anybody's interested, give us a call.
Now, do you have funding from the city as well as from private sources?
Yeah. My theater company, we were pretty new, so we have city funding and somewhat, I guess, individual funding. But, like, say, the folk dance company, they've been around for a while. They have NEA funding, TCA funding, city funding.
Is that Ballet Folklorica?
Ballet Folklorico de Aztlan.
All right. And what is your connection with the churches in the community?
Well, we, I guess in past years, this, or part of this certain kind of a pastorela has been done through processions starting at one church or another. So it's a connection that comes, I guess, during this season mostly. We don't, per se, I guess, do a lot of shows directed towards church-going people, but during this time of the year, we do bring this certain element to tie us together.
So the Pastorela would be like a procession from one place to the other?
Yeah, generally it follows. You start at one point, they do some singing, they go up to different establishments and ask to be let in, and generally the first so many establishments say no. And through that course, we see the shepherds doing their travels and the devils kind of getting in the way, and until they're finally let in at the final resting place.
I thought that was also called Posada.
Right, the Posada is kind of the singing, the procession part. The Pastorela is actually the shepherds' play, the acts themselves.
All right. In the time we have left, I would like to kind of get behind this costume to the real Rodney Garza and where you're coming from and how you got into all of this.
Well, I've been doing, I guess, theater or acting, things like that since I was in elementary, junior high, and I came to UT on a drama scholarship, and after I graduated from UT, I went ahead and stayed here, and luckily for me, I've been employed as a professional actor for the past 7 years or so, and now I'm heading my own theater company. It's kind of like this dream that I'm getting to live out. Theater is something that I have always enjoyed, and I use it as a definite means of communication and education, and that's what I like doing, and I'm glad I get to do it for a living, in a sense.
Yes, well, I'd say to be able to do that in Austin is a good place to be doing it with the interest that's here and the cultural side of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of theater going on here, lots of companies. Unfortunately, the economy, the market is not conducive a lot of the times to the arts. It's unfortunate that artists really a lot of times don't end up making minimum wage by the time they add up their hours, but there's still a sense of professionalism, and this town is pretty good about having that.
Well, I'd like to just have you say a little bit about who it is that comes and participates in your program, the age groups, and where they're coming from otherwise.
Well, we get all kinds of people. People interested in learning a little more about our culture. People who've already been there and who enjoy it. And this is all ages. we're planning seasons. We'll have shows for children, and next season I'm gearing one of the plays to be geared towards the elder community. We're really just trying to get to as many people as we can. We want everybody to know about us, and we want to know more about ourselves. So we try to hold no limits. Luckily for us, we do have the advantage of being bilingual and reaching 2 different cultures, 2 different languages, and we're making our best effort to do that.
So anyone that would be in your program would need to be bilingual?
Not necessarily, no. There's certain shows, certain plays, I mean dances, of course, with a folk dance company, you don't need to speak any kind of language for that. But for us, I'm right now making my own push to produce bilingual scripts, because to me that's a very important subject and something that we can all learn from.
You have people tending to become part of your theater troupe and repeating themselves as far as ongoing participation?
We have several people who, I guess right now we don't have a formal company per se. There's people who come back and help us out, or more than willing to be in another show. They want to, right now I see people kind of finding out about us and saying, oh, there's an opportunity for us. There's really not a lot of theater for Hispanic people, either for audiences or for actors, and so it's kind of like, hey, there's more, or a little more of it now, and hopefully next year there's going to be twice as much. So.
Have you seen it grown during the time you've been doing it?
Yeah. I guess we have 3 Hispanic-related companies now here in town, and that's 3 more than there was, 3 years ago, unfortunately. But all 3 companies are really moving along and growing, and so hopefully it's going to be a strength for us in this town.
Well, I want to say, Rodney Garza, it's just been great having you on the show today and sharing the story of Academia Aztlan and the Pastorela, and may I say that you've been an angel in participating with us.
Well, thank you, Richard. Thanks for having us.
And thank you, folks, for looking in. Be with us next week on Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Richard Thompson, and peace be with you.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472-7627.